for the show, yeah, we shut it down. 3, just to make sure you ready. 4, let them know that we run this town. 1 for the money, you know what it is. 2 for the show, yeah, we shut it down. 3, just to make sure you ready. 4, let them know that we run this. Feeling good, yeah, I could taste it. I could tell that it's one of them days.
What's going on, guys? You guys know me, Shane McNamara, 7-figure dog trainer syndicate, owner of Bellum Canine. Today's interview is with the one and the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Eric Devine, owner of Premier Pack Dog Training. It's Canton, Michigan.
Correct.
Located in Canton, Michigan. This individual is a member of the 7-figure dog trainer syndicate, and he is a class act individual, always pumping out quality dogs, producing the finest dogs anywhere in Michigan. I feel comfortable saying that. With further ado, Eric, I'd like you to introduce yourself and your business. Even though I already introduced you, the world would love to hear from you.
Thanks a lot, Shane. So I am in Canton, Michigan. That is just between Ann Arbor and Detroit in Southeast Michigan, to give you a good idea. Mainly a pet dog trainer. So I've been doing that for, quite a while. I've been training dogs for about 25 years, but only about 5 years professionally. So it's been a long time passion and hobby, but started Premier Pack about 5 years ago and is doing really well. I've been involved in the show world. I've done some breeding. So there's, quite a lot of dog expertise and broad range, I guess. But my main goal is helping out the pet dog owner right now.
Awesome. Do you do anything with service dogs?
No, I haven't gotten involved with that. I've helped people enhance their service dogs. So they have come to me with dogs that have a certain task already trained, but they needed help with the ability to take their dogs places and maintain control. And I have helped out one person in particular was just an awesome client. She came to me for this very reason, and I'm glad you brought that up. I hadn't even thought about bringing her up, but fantastic client. Got her going, and she has just been so diligent keeping up the training, sending me videos even a couple of years later about how great they're still doing. So that's been a pretty good, satisfying experience, actually.
Yeah, it's amazing the relationships that are built within the dog training industry, like the people that you meet and the friendships and network and things that you build over the years. 25 years of being training dogs, and then 5 years of doing it, you say professionally under your own company.
Right.
Sure, you've come across a lot of people, and you have a vast network of people that you've helped, right?
Yeah. Before becoming a professional, it was, more of my own dogs and occasional helping friends out. That's the thing, is I didn't even realize this was a viable business, until 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't even aware.
Viable it is.
It is. It's been a game changer for me and my family and my life. Absolutely. I'm so glad I came across it. It may be interesting to know that I discovered there was money involved, but I didn't get in it for the money. There was a passion there.
Yeah, but you got to be paid for your services and your expertise and the patience it takes. And I tell people too, like, it's not just dog training, it's people training. You need to be paid to deal with the owners, not just the dogs.
That's a paycheck right there, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very nice, man. I'm so excited to have you on here. I know you're going to give great insight and value, just like you do within the 7-figure dog trainer syndicate. You've been a loyal member since we started, like one of the first.
It's been great
in the organization. So I think that's great. And you've been attending all the calls and participating, and I don't even know if you know how much value you've given other people within the organization. So thank you for that. But you talked about, like, briefly your background and how you were helping friends and stuff. So what led you to your current path to starting your business? Like, can you expand a little bit more on the whole thing that led to the decision of I'm going to do this as a business, and when it got serious for you?
Yeah, that's actually a good story. So I bought a show quality bull mastiff named Higgins. And at that point, when I bought him, I had already been training dogs a long time, my own dogs particularly, and found it very satisfying. I wanted to take another step in that process, do something more with my dog. So I bought Higgins and wanted to go on this journey of becoming a handler for a show dog. And it was an interesting process. And he was a real turning point in becoming, the path I took as far as training dogs. He was a dog who I got at 6 months old. He was very fearful. I had never experienced that before to that degree. He was afraid to go anywhere, afraid of people. If I wanted to walk around the neighborhood and somebody was out in their driveway, half a dozen houses down, he didn't want to even go that direction. And we invested some money in this dog. It was an expensive dog. And my wife is like, well, what do we do that for if we're not going to show him? So I committed to taking him down this road. And it took a lot to be able to get him out of his shell, expand his horizons to the degree that I could take him in a show ring, and I found a dog trainer in the area, and he had a confidence building class. He advertised it as, so I'm like, sweet, that sounds perfect. I went in there and I'm like, wow, you're a professional dog trainer. This is really cool,
Yeah.
I looked into it at that time. I was trying to do some math, and at the time, I really couldn't figure out how I could do what he was doing, which was a small group class.
Yeah.
I couldn't do what he was doing and give up my current profession.
What was that?
So I have a window cleaning business also, where we did
Okay.
a lot of residential homes,
Yeah.
and been doing that a long time. I couldn't give that up, and there wasn't money there. In a group class, it's a different ball game. But the results were great. So we started working. I had some direction to go on, had, some means to broaden Higgins' horizons. So eventually got him to the point of becoming a champion show dog. He was in a big arena at the Bull Mastiff Nationals.
Wow.
It was really quite a journey. At one particular show, he beat the best dogs in the country at that time. So I got the bug, it was like, wow, I can really help people out.
Yeah. And you were competing on a stage
Yeah.
right off the
Yeah.
rip. I mean,
So I had
all
this
eyes
dog
on
that
you.
you know, couldn't be approached by anybody, couldn't go anywhere, to being in front of an audience with, judges handling him and everything.
Total transformation.
Yeah,
Like,
that was a big
complete
deal.
180.
Yeah, absolutely.
Killer.
It's not my, not all my credit, of course, but I got him to some professionals that led me along the way, but really opened my eyes to see what some people might be struggling with and what potential we could, help with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was huge. I got another girl, her name is Paisley. She was a star. She because I wanted to handle her by myself, that was the whole point. I didn't want to hand her off to somebody else because I wanted to be involved.
Was this another bull mastiff?
Yep, this is another bull mastiff. And she turned out to be got her to the point of being a silver grand champion. Again, she was able to compete and beat the best dogs in the country. So very, very proud of that show career I had and the dogs I had.
For the people listening, what is you said silver grand champion?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So there's different levels. You have to get a certain amount of points and win a certain amount of competitions to become a champion. Then it progresses to grand champion. bronze champion and then silver champion. I could have gone gold and platinum, but
What exactly are you training and doing in these shows? What do you?
so the training
A lot of
is
people don't know.
yeah, it's confirmation. So it's really about
Uh-huh.
the quality of the dog, not so much a training competition.
Yeah,
Uh, but you definitely have to have a stable dog,
yeah,
one that knows how to, hit their points to be displayed properly, and stable enough to be able to be in that environment among other dogs and then
right.
other people.
Yeah.
So it was
You don't want a dog, reactive dog trying to attack the other dogs in there. 'Cause what do you think they're gonna say about that guy that brings that?
yeah, they're excused. Yeah, and I've seen it too. So
So your journey, was safe to say, started through the show line stuff and getting a glimmer of like be facing challenges and then realizing that you have the ability to do these things. And when you were probably training with those other trainers, I'm sure you were just absorbing knowledge like a sponge, right? At the time or whatever they were doing
yeah,
with dogs.
I
But when did you transition to um less of like outsource, like looking at other trainers and then just running as you are, like with your own knowledge and stuff, or that journey, you know?
you know, so I got my first dog about 25 years ago, and I know a lot of trainers have the story of having a problem dog trying to fix it, right?
Yeah,
When I was a young guy, I never had dogs growing up, and my friends did, and I thought they were really cool. They were Rottweiler and a Mastiff, and they had a trainer come in, and I saw their dogs transform. And so when I was older and married and had a family, and my immediate goal when I got a dog was to train it. And my first dog I trained to a high level, and it's funny. I look back, I'm like, I didn't even know half of what I know now. I mean, maybe not even, even a fraction. But that dog was awesome. Got me the bug, and I really liked it. And every time I got a new dog, it was okay, great, another opportunity to train. Um, but when I got Higgins, the one I talked about at first here, the show dog, um, I actually started getting the bug again for training, and I started watching a lot of YouTube. So, saw a lot of Learberg videos, Michael Ellis, got
mhm,
involved in,
okay,
just diving into training dogs, and discovered Jeff Gellman, Sean O'Shea, started learning a lot and realizing like I love learning this. Like it was really it was an interest of mine where I just found it super interesting. But it wasn't until down the line, in fact, one of Jeff Gellman's podcasts saying that, you can make six figures doing this. I'm like, okay, let me look into this a little bit, but differently.
yeah.
Um,
So when was he saying that? Do you remember the
oh,
time?
it's been,
Years
six,
ago.
7 years ago.
7 years ago, he was saying that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that
And
I can make a living and I can quit doing windows because I
yeah,
think dogs are more exciting than windows.
yeah, yeah. It piqued my interest,
Yeah,
50 now, and this was, early 40s, I guess. And it was just like a revitalization, for me.
that's great.
And to be able to think I could take where I was at and change gears, at that age was really reinvigorating for me. So I hit the ground with a lot of, newfound passion and energy.
That's awesome. What were you doing in your 20s?
So that's a good question. At that time, so I live near Detroit, Motor City, right?
Yeah,
I was working at GM doing automotive design and detail work. So I was one of the guys on the computer putting out the prints for and modeling, computer modeling for the vehicles coming out.
that's
It was,
cool.
it was an interesting job, you know.
Cool. It's cool to have done like many different things and um, there's a lot of guys in the syndicate that they came from crazy different walks of lives and backgrounds. And that's one of the things of this podcast is to talk about, your stories. So we ended up moving into inspiration. So all of those goat trainers from 20 years ago, 15 years ago that started this stuff, were they your inspiration, or was it really just getting a hold of that show dog and getting revigorated from that was your inspiration? What originally inspired you, and what's inspiring you now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I had the inspiration initially just from my experience working with dogs and how much I liked it.
Yeah.
Then it was later on that I found out there is a living to be made, and then from that point it was, how do I do that? So, the inspiration or the desire to train dogs was something I've had for a long time, and just poured it into my own dogs. And if anybody else needed help with their dogs, I help them.
Yeah.
But professionally, it wasn't until I realized we can do this professionally and not just in sports. I can support my family. That's what gave me the boost to, like, okay, I'm getting into this. Honestly, as I'm talking about it, I think about, I listen to some of these, YouTube, these trainers that I found on YouTube. I don't want to call them a YouTube trainer necessarily.
It's just
Um,
a platform that they put out to the world.
exactly. Yeah. Legit trainers, right?
Yeah.
I started just absorbing so much content. And after a while, I realized, the wealth of knowledge I had gotten just by absorbing all that. And, like, what am I going to do with this by myself?
Yeah.
I want to help other people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it went. And, I've never really had a problem dog. I mean, I've had some with challenges, like I said, the fear, but I've never had a problem dog.
You've never had a dog come through your business in 5 years that you would call a problem dog that you would...
Oh, many. I'm talking personally.
Okay.
My own personal
I
dogs.
said, oh boy.
No. My own personal dogs were not very, they were problem dogs. I was able to develop them really well.
Yeah.
But I started noticing a lot of other people are having dogs with a lot of problems and how much it affects their lives. So that's when I see, like, okay, here's an opportunity, because, going into being an entrepreneur or starting a business, it's, what problem can I solve? What are people having difficulty with that can be of value to them? And enter dogs. I mean, this is a commitment people make for, 10 years plus.
Yeah.
And if this is causing them trouble, that could be a very valuable thing to, be the means by which they can have a very pleasant 10 years plus, or if they keep struggling.
What do you think is the reason these people keep having so many problem dogs? Like, seems like, I don't have a statistic of a number to throw out there, but let's say like 50% of all people that get a pet dog have a problem with it. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I have some good thoughts about that. Honestly, I think it's the nonsense being put out there by the pure positive group. People are becoming soft. They want a world that fits their own emotions and are fitting real life.
Yeah.
And
See that?
too many people that come to me, like you said about problem dogs coming to me. That's why they come to me, because they're problem dogs generally. I get some where I can develop them from a puppy, but usually there's an issue. And so consistently, I ask, what have you been trying? And it includes, throwing treats at the dogs when they're not behaving.
Rewarding the negative behavior.
I know. It's like, and once the funny thing is, Shane, is when
knowledge.
I bring this up to them, like what they're doing, and it always is like, oh, well, that makes so much sense, because they're being...
Common sense is not so common.
Yeah. And they get told so many things that defy common sense, but they think that because it's complicated, or it's coming from a professional or somebody on YouTube, that that must be the way to do it. But in real life, it does not serve them well. So the willingness for people to actually have some discipline with their dogs. And what I mean that is hold them accountable to certain behaviors and, take control of your dog. That's the biggest thing I tell people is just stop letting your dog practice bad behavior, take control of it,
Yeah.
So
So, so
that's
the
a big,
so the reason you're saying is that do you think it's maybe it's like 80% of the population have problems with their dogs? That's what it seems like. So let's just make it up. I'm going to make up that statistic. 80% of people have problem with their dogs. And
yeah,
you're saying that a good portion of the problem is because of the misdirection of knowledge and or just ignorance of training philosophies and knowledge. Uh,
yeah.
would you also say though, what about people picking the wrong breed, genetics? What about them having the wrong dog for their little 800 square foot apartment?
Yeah. So that's huge.
Mhm.
I was thinking about that recently too, and how many mismatched homes there are with dogs. And I was thinking back myself, back before I gained a lot of knowledge about dogs. I used to think, okay, it's a dog, and do I want this size or do I want this kind of coat or color? But they're just dogs. So many people I think feel that way, and
Yeah.
they don't really understand. Um, I've had one client recently had been used to Newfoundlands, and that last one died, so they got a Great Pyrenees. And I'm like, whoa, one is bred to rescue humans, another one is bred to kill coyotes.
Correct. Correct. And that's
And
so
different.
incredibly important to teach. I mean, not just dog trainers are going to watch this, but regular people are going to watch, these podcasts. Understanding the breeds, understanding the genetics and what they are purposely bred for is going to make your life a lot easier or going to make your life hell with
Yeah.
owning a dog.
And getting the right match can be just awesome,
Yeah.
but not taking that time to uh pick out a breed that fits genetically, or at least instinctually what kind of lifestyle you're hoping to have with this dog.
Set you up for failure.
So, that's kind of a thing with rescues or mixed breed dogs. You can't do that because who knows what their genetics are most of the time.
Hmm.
So there's some issues there. There's obviously some gems
Yeah.
in the rescue world and at the shelters, no doubt, but you're taking away some predictability going that route. I'm a
That's,
proponent of good breeding.
yeah, that's interesting. But on the same token, to play devil's advocate, there's great dogs in those shelters that need to be
There are.
rescued. And they need experts or people that can pick out and choose which ones, um, you know, or what's going on with them. I had a discussion with another podcast earlier with another member, and she does a lot of rescue work, tons of it. And we were talking about the misdiagnosis of dogs in the rescues from the people that work at I mean, God forbid, I mean, I'm not calling anybody out, but some people that work at rescues, they have a manning issue or shortage, and they hire unqualified people, or there's people that are they just don't understand, and they'll have a working breed Malinois in a shelter deemed dangerous because he's clapping his jaws continually, saying that that's aggression, and that's a genetic trait of the dog's high drive, right? And they can't
Yeah.
contain their energy. So we were talking about that. I'm a proponent, I don't like to speak too personally on my views, but I am a proponent of purposeful breeding for the application from the working dog world. Those dogs don't need to be in homes. They don't need to be pets. They're bred for the police force, the military, for high risk missions and stuff. And the Hollywood and some of the industries are trying to bring these dogs into people's homes, and it's a serious problem in my book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a great thing. You got anything to add on that?
Well, I totally agree. I want to emphasize that I am not against adopting from a shelter at all,
Yeah.
but there should be some knowledge going into that, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, it is important to understand how to read dogs to a certain degree. Um, Going to a shelter, for instance, plays on people's emotions a lot. They want to rescue this dog. And a lot of times they rescue this dog because they feel like it has a bad lot in life. Maybe it's particularly fearful, or even it's its last chance from aggression standpoint before being put down. They want to be the savior, and their household pays for it.
Hmm.
If they're not ready for that kind of challenge, it's really tough to see these people bring these dogs into their homes. It was never a match to begin with. They're really over their head with some of these problem behaviors.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, this moves in perfectly to challenges. So
okay.
I mean, you could talk about current challenges you have within dogs that you're training, the customers that you're seeing, or just challenges in business. What are some of the significant challenges you have faced, and how did you overcome them?
So, initial challenge, and this is the case for anybody starting up a business, is getting it off the ground.
Yes.
That was huge. One of the guys that's helped me out a lot in this industry, as far as not from a dog training, but from a marketing standpoint and web development, you always use the train, or usually uses the example of a train. You got to get that train rolling, but
Right.
once it starts rolling, you have some momentum. So don't be discouraged right away, when you're starting up a business and it's challenging, because you got to expect that. Um, I had a certain amount of determination to get past that. And with my other business, I was able to have some flexibility on how much I worked and have some control of my schedule so I could spend some time starting up another business. So that was something I had in place that helped me along. But getting things set up, like really learning how to train a dog and running a dog training business, are two very different skills. And learning how to, as you brought up earlier, learning how to teach the people is a huge part of that necessary skill. So looking at what people actually wanted from their dogs versus what I think might look pretty and be neat to teach them, we're often not on the same page either.
Yeah.
So, getting in tune with the people that own the dogs, how is that going to, improve their life? That's one of the things that I may put some effort in, I guess I'd say, to learn better and refine how I teach the people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
really important.
Growing as an instructor, as a
Yeah.
human trainer, right? A lot, like I always say, I mean, we probably watch every single one of these podcasts with each trainer that I do, and we're all going to agree that we're more dog people than people. You know what I mean? We get along better with the dogs than we do people, but it's a necessary part of the business that has to be mastered. And I know many dog trainers suffer with this. They're like, I'm good at working all the drills with the dog, doing basic obedience, advanced obedience, my tools, my equipment, my philosophy. But when I try to explain it, or have to teach it, or have the patience to teach a person that just you talk and it goes in one ear and out the other,
Right.
or you do private sessions and you give them routines and homework and instructions, and they go home and they don't do them.
That's a good point too. The challenge of learning to let adults be adults and get what they demand out of their dog.
But how does that not become a reflection of you and your business?
Yeah.
Right? When they don't do the work, they expect you to do it, and they didn't do a board and train. Let's say it's just private sessions. You have to remind them that they're not doing their work, right?
So that's a filtering process to begin in the beginning. You know, I have a good conversation with people. I don't sign anybody up without having a good conversation with them first. I explain to my clients that I'm not interested in just making a sale, because if I don't put out a good product and you're not keeping up with it, then it doesn't reflect good on me. So that's an excellent point. Uh,
Qualifying your leads,
what?
qualifying your customers before
Absolutely.
you
And
hire
letting
them.
them know that there is work involved. You
Yeah,
know, I'm not going to be programming a computer or a robot here. You know, if you let it fall apart, it will fall apart. You know, so I tell the clients that and explain, hey, there's some work involved. Are you up to that first? You know, so that has really proved to be serving me well in business and reputation, finding those good clients.
that's one of the things we taught in the syndicate,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Having systems in places that qualify those people before they even come to you.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, in the end, sometimes they let things slide. And that's kind of where I feel like, oh, I want to just get in there and tell them what to do. But sometimes I just gotta, let them do with their dog as they wish. But um, getting that qualification first and finding people who are willing to commit, and honestly, people who are willing to pay and invest are the best clients because they've already shown a level of commitment. So
Correct.
underbidding your dog training services sometimes doesn't work out good for either party in the end. You know,
No.
and I think
And
that's one thing you've made a definite point of in the syndicate here.
yeah, underselling your services or giving exorbitant discounts devalues you, which in return can cause you to get less respect garnered from them as well.
There you go.
They start off with wanting a discount and it moves into them just not being happy with the training, no matter what you did. And then all of a sudden you did all the work and made huge progress and they just want a refund, but you've already solicited the worker. That's a worst case scenario, the terrible thing. So it's like qualifying your clients. I could see that being a huge challenge for new trainers or new
Yeah,
company owners trying to figure out to overcome. There's this section alone of challenges we could probably talk about for hours, because as fun and rewarding as the dog training business is, as well as I know, there is a host of challenges to grow and scale your business and start from nothing and go all the way up. Because I've done it and you've done it. So it's like we could talk about challenges all day long, just on this topic.
oh, there's a there's a plethora.
Yeah. But in the end, would you say it's worth it?
Oh yeah, honestly, I think that those with an entrepreneurial spirit also appreciate challenges. You know, I like
Yeah.
finding challenges, overcoming them, figuring out how to make it work better.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that will serve you well if you want to get into business, because those problems are going to come.
Yeah.
You know,
And if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
there you go. Yeah,
And if it was easy, all the fly-by-night dog training companies would keep being in existence. But you see people pop up and disappear all the time.
sure, sure.
Let's talk about your successes, if I may, unless you
Yeah.
got anything else on your challenges.
Um,
What have been some of your proudest accomplishments or your most successful moments?
yeah. So that's another interesting topic, because when we get into dog training, I initially I didn't know to what extent of a difference I could make in people's lives. You know, I didn't realize how impactful this business can be in people's lives. I think of one client we've grown to be very close. She brought me her two very fearful chihuahuas. And at this point, it wasn't about them learning commands, it was about saving their life. Um,
Dang.
they were
was
They
that
were
serious.
what's that?
It was that serious.
Yeah, they were attacking each other, and they had, honestly, some poor genetics. Um, Fearful of the world, just trembling with fear over everything.
Mm.
I'd take them outside and they wouldn't know what to do in grass. I wanted to walk them and they wouldn't understand how to, you know, cross the street or step over a curb, things like that. They wouldn't eat. The one in particular was just the anxiety was such, it was starving itself. So that was a situation. It was actually, I'm thankful it was early on in the, you know, when I started my business, because I wasn't quite as busy as I am now, and I had a lot more time to devote to these dogs
Oh, yeah, it's a demanding
individually.
client.
Yeah. Um, it got to the point where I had to hand feed the dog. Um, and when I say that, I mean like getting some of the soft food on my fingertips, or fit, lick my fingertips.
Yeah,
Um,
strip the dog down to bare bones and hand feed
yeah,
them. Go. Yeah,
yeah. Uh, we we broke a lot of barriers with that dog. It it wasn't the prettiest process because she had such overwhelming fear. We had to override that. And this is something that I want to give a lot of credit or uh, thankfulness that the e-collar is available. Okay. So with the e-collar, I was able to help these dogs decide that moving forward was the comfortable option as opposed to freezing in place. And we just started creating more forward momentum by, honestly making the stopping very uncomfortable.
right.
And that started unlocking things with these dogs that open their lives to such an amazing degree. Their owner is a woman that is very active, and now she's able to take these dogs anywhere with her, hiking, whatever, and the amount it's affected her life, and
Yeah.
I actually believe it saved the dogs' lives.
I have never had an achievement like that with a Chihuahua. Freaking that you just took the grand prize, man. You accomplished that with a scared of the world Chihuahua with poor
Oh,
genetics. And
it was a heck of a challenge.
and
Um,
time. I bet a lot of time went into this. Like
oh yeah,
you didn't do this in 2 weeks, right?
no,
Had to have been the course of like
I yeah, it was. It not only was the better part of a month, but she has utilized me many times for boarding since then.
yeah.
And so they've become a bit of a part of the family now.
Wa-
But
Was this a
she is,
border train or was this
yeah,
private?
that was a board and train. And since then, they've come to just stay with me while their owner has done some traveling.
And at that time, you were 100% focused on just those clients. Did you have those two dogs and that's it?
Uh,
Or did you have other dogs too? You think?
I had, I may have had one or two others.
Because I feel like a case like that involves a good majority of your attention and focus to rectify.
Yeah, it did. One thing nice about this industry is that when you find some good, supportive, helpful people
Yeah,
like yourself, you've been very open and helpful, like, helping people with their build their business and not viewing it as like competition, right?
yeah,
Um, Finding some dog trainers that are open and generous with their knowledge
yeah,
is huge.
yeah.
So I was able to tap into, some networks of the people I know and, run some things by them, get some good ideas of how to handle things. Um, I'm definitely open to learning, hearing what other people have their successes, hearing about the input they uh, has found works. You can't grow if you know it all,
Yeah,
right?
you've got to remain a student of the craft
Yeah.
because in the last podcast with the previous member, Nicole Barr, we talked about the same thing. I told her, or she said that she's a student of the craft and has been for 20 years. And it's the old adage, like once you think you start knowing it all, you're not in the game no more. Like you're going to get left behind because your ego is overstepping your ability to learn and be open-minded and see new tactics and new technology or new methods. They say there's 100 ways to skin a cat. I don't like the saying, but it's true. But the way that you do something and the way that I do something is different. We know the science or philosophies behind it, or what we're doing, or the 4 quadrants of training, but the way that you do it, or the tools and how you do the tools and stuff, you could be doing something so much more faster, effective, and less conflict to the dog than the way that I do it. And I would be a fool to not listen to what you have to say if you're willing to share it. You know what I mean? And that's what you're saying is hard. There's a lot of guys that are out here guarding their knowledge, thinking it's that sacred technology that if it falls into the enemy's hands, their whole business is going to go to shambles because Eric in Canton, Michigan is a better trainer than him. Like, that doesn't affect you in Texas. It doesn't affect you even so. Like, Nicole Barr is in Texas City. She is 14 miles from me.
Oh, that's it.
And we don't see each other. You know what I mean? There's no competition. There's no anything between the two, because what a lot of people don't realize is how big the industry is, how many pets are in existence in America. And there is not enough trainers. There is not enough trainers. And then amongst that, let's not talk ill of anyone, but there's people that don't know what they're doing. And there's people that are, doing certain things. So there's not enough quality trainers or fully educated trainers on as many or as all of the practices, methods, technology, equipment, everything that they could be doing and how they should be doing it. We're underserving the population. So there's no competition. We need a lot more trainers. And the reason that they're not busy is marketing, is social media, and I know you started making tons of videos now on your social medias. You're killing it. Chris was sending me videos all the time of like, look at Eric. He's like a content king. He's killing it. So it's great.
Yeah, that's a challenge right there, isn't it?
That is a challenge. And that's why I said we can talk about challenges all day. It's making content and constantly being in there. Content is king. Being in front of people is king. So I know the 7-figure Dog Trainer Syndicates help you with realizing you got to be in front of people. You got to have eyes on you.
Oh yeah. It's an interesting business. Even the strategies in making a sale, and learning some psychology that way. I remember one person specifically, it might have been Chris, really pointing out that if you know you can help this person and you fail to convince them of that, you've done them a disservice.
100%.
Yeah, that's a huge one, because people feel very uncomfortable with sales. But when you think like they're coming to you because they have a problem, if you don't convince them that you can actually help them, you didn't do them any favors.
Yeah, you've done them a disservice, and then on top of that, you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
You don't deserve it. Someone else that can fix their problem will fix their problem. We'll get that. So what expertise do you bring to the career field? What specific knowledge, skills, insight do you bring to this industry? And what sets you apart from others, you think?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I don't know where the other people might be lacking. So, but I can tell you that I feel I'm good with people and, developing the relationship and teaching them. I think that's huge. Like we discussed earlier, but my drive to make it work for these people is huge. I'm not hung up on a certain ideology or method that is going to keep me from finding success.
Would you say that others are, that there's a lot of people out there
I
that?
see it a lot. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, they're just, they, they really, they just won't try things that would work because they either, well, they could be ignorant of the method, of course, but there's a lot of shame and guilt put on people in this industry. That if you try to train a certain way, they will shame and guilt you on it. And
Who's doing
that's,
that? Trainers, right?
yeah, what's that?
Other trainers are doing that to each other.
They are, yeah. And honestly, it spilled over into the general public too. There's a lot of the general public that will shame people. And that happens because they may have a really easy dog that's never required much. And when they see somebody else doing more to handle their dog, they shame them publicly even.
Yes.
And it's really a shame and a disservice to dogs. I really don't feel you can be labeling yourself as a dog lover and letting dogs or shaming people into doing what they need to do to help this dog live a better life.
Yeah. Well, they don't. I think it's safe to say that on both sides of the table, I mean, some of these people don't believe or are so ignorant that your method that clearly works, is working, does work, provable, science behind it, right? Of maybe 4 quadrants of operant conditioning. They're just so stuck in their ways, and their way, the way that they think it needs to be done feels really good in the public eye. It sells well, it's loving on paper, but it doesn't serve the dog justice, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think we really need to redefine what loving is.
Yes, because
Yeah.
like a parent that lets me, when I was growing up, I love him so much, if he wants to do drugs, he can do drugs. No, that's
It's
not
not.
love.
No.
I need to, I probably should have spanked my butt
Yeah.
if I'm gonna start doing drugs, right? So,
Sure.
not the perfect analogy, but
Well,
I know what you mean by redefining love.
yeah,
Correction.
I
Correct.
don't like, yeah, for sure. Because so I'm a father of 3. You know, I'm raising, you know, I have a couple sons in their early 20s now, but I
Mhm.
got a teenager as well. And my job as a parent can be often related to your job as a dog owner. You know, I love my kids like nothing else in the world, but I got to put them on the straight and narrow, right? I got to guide them and provide some, discipline in their lives where necessary. You know,
And that's love. That is the definition of love. You love them so much that you're not going to let them fail. You're not going to let them go out and become detriments to society.
and
So,
I do the uncomfortable.
yeah,
Are you willing to do the uncomfortable for your dog to make sure it gets more out of life? You know, I think
within
that,
moral, ethical proportions.
yeah, of course.
And I always say that, it all comes from love, and it all comes from, actually, you should be in my opinion, in a non-emotional state. As soon
Yes.
as you as a trainer have emotion evoked into your training, you're wrong. It needs to be emotionless, especially with correction, right? No human anger or anything
It's
behind it.
that's a big point because it's not about, being upset. It's a learning experience.
It's education.
Yeah, yeah, it's a learning experience. So if you're not knowledgeable or equipped to help them learn a lesson from any kind of correction,
Yeah.
then where does that leave you, right?
So your expertise, man, from my perspective, just listening to you, you bring a balanced, dynamic, educational experience to your clients. Your tonality, the way you speak to people makes me want to listen. When you're talking, I'm comfortable with you. I don't feel that you're trying to force something down my throat. I don't feel that you're like, do you know what I'm saying? People are able to vibe with you, and it just comes off as what needs to be done,
Well,
so
I
I think that's
appreciate that
good.
feedback, and good to know, because,
Yeah.
listening to yourself sometimes you don't.
Yeah, it's a strong suit, man. I mean, I feel comfortable, like if you were instructing, it's like if you're speaking about something, it's important. You're not
Okay.
just saying things that are, to be said. So you bring a dynamic, relatable approach to your clients that they can feel comfortable with. Do you ever butt heads with anybody, any customers?
Well,
That
first
you
of all, I'm glad it comes off that way. I really do feel, sincere about what I talk about.
Yeah,
And, it's coming from a place of trying to help other people, Um,
yeah, and we
you know,
sense
I,
that.
you know, I, I've also accepted that I can't please everybody, and that's okay. Um, yeah, when we talk to people, especially households that have, I mean, it might be a couple, but it might even be extended beyond just the couple. And I'm trying to describe what need, what has to happen for this dog to, uh,
Be fixed.
yeah, I mean, do you want to say be fixed, right? But it's like, it's one of those things where, listen, your dog is in this state. We're going to have to upset that balance before we get here, and
Mhm.
it's not going to be the life that you got a dog for. You're gonna have to take some measures before we adjust this dog to the
Yeah,
point that
I
you
can't
want.
just have this Dutch Shepherd lay on the couch all day. That's what I bought him for. I don't want him bothering me.
Or a dog that's shown itself to be, aggressive. You know, we're not going to be able to give it all the freedom you want to give it right now.
Right.
It's
Well,
not going to look like you had vision in your head owning a dog. We've got to
free
take some
roam.
measures.
What are some examples of that? I can think of some right out there. Free roam in the house, unlimited food.
Yeah, right there is huge. When we have a dog that is, uh, showing attitude or aggression with its own in its own household, particularly, we really need to switch up a lifestyle in which the dog cannot feel like it's in charge.
Interesting.
And, I tell people, like, listen, you're going to control every aspect of this dog's life for a while. It's going to be in its crate or it's going to be on leash. You're telling your dog what is going to be happening every part of the day. You're providing the food, you're providing the exercise, you're providing the means by which it can relieve itself, you know, the companionship, everything.
And
And
that's not going to resonate with everybody.
no, it doesn't. So some people are
Yeah.
like, yes, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I see what you mean. It makes a lot of sense. Other people are just put up a block, like I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. So you educate them, you still give them everything they need, but maybe you're not going to be the trainer for them, right? If they're just not willing to hear you.
And I'm willing to do
Pass
that.
on that business.
You know,
It sucks though, because we want to help the dog.
it it does, and there are some times where it's tough when I leave knowing where this dog is heading without the help.
Exactly. It's a heavy burden to have on your heart. So let's talk about some advice. I know you got some good advice. Been doing this thing for, what'd you say, 25 years? Roughly 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, working with dogs, but professionally about 5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah. You have plenty of advice to give. So based on your experiences, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs or individuals looking to excel in your industry?
Well, for entrepreneur in general,
Let's go with that first.
yeah, uh, be prepared for a lot of work. I think too many people think the idea of owning their business means not working as much, or
You get to play
getting
with
out
dogs
from
every
under
day.
a boss. And it's like, you start working for yourself, you have a bunch of bosses, all your clients are your boss, and you can't turn it off sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to, be off the clock, so to speak. So big thing, I guess, would be starting off is like, do you want that? That's a
Good
big
point.
thing. Yeah. Um, there's a lot of different hats you're going to have to wear. You don't get to necessarily concentrate on one aspect until you grow enough where you can delegate and have people in those positions to handle the different tasks. You have to handle a lot yourself. It can be super rewarding though, so and it could be super, not only gratifying, but actually monetarily rewarding too, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah. So find something you can have some passion with, first of all. Maybe, like when I started up my window cleaning business, it wasn't like I had a passion for cleaning windows, but you know what? It was being active, being outside, dealing with a lot of people, seeing some instant gratification when a good job is done. There's a lot of things there.
Yeah.
You want to have something that drives you. And if you can find a, problem that you can solve that is of value to people, then you got something to work with. You know,
Awesome.
um,
What
with
about people wanting to excel in the industry?
so in dog training, you, I think we touched on a little bit as far as an open mind. Um, you're going to be yourself, so don't try to be somebody else. There's a lot of so-called gurus out there, right?
Yeah.
Um, you want to find some that maybe resonate with you, to follow and gain some insight from, but you really need to learn for yourself and get hands-on with dogs to see what works in reality, because unfortunately a lot of what is out there works on paper. you
Yeah.
know it's not working with dogs in reality. um don't stop learning, keep an open mind, um but put it to practice. Don't just be a student, get to work. you know Finding some people they'll trust you with their dogs, even if it's friends and family. Start doing some problem solving with their dogs, teaching it some commands, teaching it how to walk. That's a good way to start up, get things going, get a name for yourself, and help things snowball from there.
Awesome. Would you say that there's any key principles or strategies that have been crucial to your success? I know one of them is a syndicate.
So I joined the seven-figure syndicate, and that was huge. It's, by the way, anybody listening, the seven-figure syndicate is tremendous amount of value in learning this. It's If you're getting started, you're going to be so far ahead, learning this now. So don't um don't concentrate. If you want to be a dog training business owner, you can't just concentrate on training dogs. You have to learn how to be a marketer too, because you need an influx of dogs coming. That's the only way you can stay in business.
Sales.
Yeah, you
Sales.
have to be a salesperson,
Yeah, absolutely.
or hire it out, but it's part of your business.
Like you said, right? Wear hats. We wear a lot of hats. Nice. That's Premier Pack hat, huh?
That's it. See that right there?
Beautiful.
But it's a great business. If you like, I really feel you should get in this business to help people. You can't ignore the people. There are some that just want to do the best for the dog, and we know that. And I'm speaking from a pet dog owner, trainer viewpoint. Is a symbiotic relationship. If you're able to help the dog behave in a way that the owner is happier with, well, that dog has a home. They're not going to be looking to rehome the dog, first of all. Then if the dog can behave, well, then the owner is now willing to do more with the dog and expand its life, take it for more walks, take it with them on vacation, place things like that. It's you help one, you help the other. You can't forget about one of those parties. Just helping the dog, it's very, very limited because you need to help the owner.
So, you're fully booked out, like all the
Yeah,
time. So
yeah.
what strategies or principles have played into that success where you're at? I define that as successful. If you're fully booked out and you're fully having clients and you're fully delivering quality dogs, you are successful. So
Yeah, I mean, that's a good measure for sure.
what's attributed to
Um, well, I have worked on my program to get results. And there have been times that I have kept dogs longer than I told them I would have to keep them. There's been accommodations I've made beyond my contract,
that?
because, you know, I want to make sure a good product is out there and that, my goal, first of all, and this is a good one for dog trainers getting started. If your goal is to produce good, well-behaved dogs and make happy clients, the money's going to come. You can't just do it for the money. In fact, if you look at it the other way around, you probably do better because there's been a lot of clients I haven't taken on, that could have been. So like we talked earlier about filtration process. When you can choose good people to work with, even if it means you don't make a sale.
Mhm.
If you work with a dog a little longer to, get better results, even when, it wasn't part of the initial agreement, but you see there's a need. If you want to do that, it's going to go a long way. You're going to get happier customers, people that are willing to tell others about you. And again, the money's going to come.
Yeah, we live in a world of bare minimum, and when you go the extra mile, you shine.
Yeah.
I think that's attributing to your success too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is your love and willingness to go the extra mile. And
I
it's
have
different
one.
than being taken advantage of either. It's like you do what
No,
your business needs to have done.
no, I have clear
Oh,
boundaries,
yeah.
and I will enforce those boundaries if I feel I need to. But here's something I should bring out. I had a conversation with somebody recently that I was on a call sales and they agreed to work with me. Actually, they didn't sign up when we initially talked, but they came back and said, okay, we want to sign up. And I ended up asking them, what made you make that decision? Because I knew they'd been talking to other people. And she says, I could tell you cared. So that's huge. And I was actually told her, I'm glad you heard that or could tell because I do care, but I'm also disappointed that it didn't seem like others did.
You think people can fake that? You think someone could be so good that they fake caring? I don't think so.
I think people have I think alarms start going off when they tell people can tell if others are fake.
Yeah, when they're shisty.
Yeah. You want to be sincere. You don't want to be fake because that's a huge turnoff, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just wondering if, just off topic, if you think that, I mean, there probably is maybe someone that's like a serial narcissist or something.
I think some people might even have a script that
they just read.
they're just saying it, but
Yeah.
people can tell. And, this industry particularly really requires you to care.
Yeah.
I think, because like I said, and I've emphasized, it makes a difference and impacts people's lives to a great degree, more than many other types of businesses.
Yeah. So if you want to be successful, by all means, fully booked out, customers happy, dogs trained to the best ability, be a scholar in the industry, go the extra mile, actually care what you're doing, and be doing it for the right reasons and not just money alone, right?
You're spot on, but also, honestly, and going back to the 7-figure syndicate and other means, you need an influx of leads. So to be picky with clients, not take them all on, you'll find out that a number of them aren't a good fit. Maybe there's some tire kickers, or maybe you're just looking for the bare minimum. Maybe that's not for you, but you need the leads coming in first.
Constantly.
Yeah. So
If you have all the apples on the tree, you can pick the best ones.
yeah, I couldn't have myself booked out if I didn't have the leads coming in like I do.
Yeah, I'm into that. So you got any current projects you're working on? You got any, this can be business related, this can be dog related. Anything you're excited about, anything that you're about to launch, do? I mean, if it's top secret, don't tell the world, but
I got things going on in my head. The virtual, the online,
yeah.
more support.
Say that again. Virtual online. What? What are you talking about?
Well, and nothing's in the works yet, but
Yeah.
just being able to reach beyond Southeast Michigan here, like you said,
Scalability.
there's so many dogs out there that need help. So if we can spread the means by which I can help people, that's good.
You thinking about an online course? More home-based education?
Yeah, online course in the future, but probably a little more virtual consulting immediately.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
great.
So that's something people can, reach out to me about, and, get on, like we are now talking on Zoom and working things out that way. That's
Educating
yeah,
worldwide.
education. And sometimes people just have a couple pieces missing of the puzzle that they need to refine or look at differently to make some huge advancement.
Absolutely. So you got any current projects in dogs? Got any knuckleheads that are giving you challenge?
Oh, I seem
Or
to
within the
get
last
a
couple
number
months?
of reactive dogs that are hard, to take on walks if, so many people have given up taking their dogs on walks, and, or having guests over, things like that. And, helping these dogs to become more stable, you know, that's really, really satisfying. So that's, what I'm working on with some of the dogs I have right now. Um, reliability and obedience is always part of it, but just getting dogs to settle down and become more stable, whether it's around the house or on walks, it seems to be a real problem for people. So that's what I help them with a lot. Um, I work with a lot of bigger dogs too. I get some small ones, my own personal breed, bull mastiffs, people, because it's in the show world too, people have become aware of that with me. So that brings in some of the mastiff type breeds or bully breeds.
Yeah, they don't have the same drives necessarily as working dogs, but some
Yeah,
can.
they're different for
But
sure.
sometimes they can, I always talk to people and tell it, just because it's this breed doesn't mean it can't be high drive in that breed, right? You got
Yeah.
high drive and low drive breed. You got high drive and low drive dogs in all breeds.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Because of genetics.
I had a litter of bull mastiffs 3 years ago, and that was such a learning experience because I got to see that firsthand, where these dogs have the same parents, same pedigree, but such
Genetic
different personalities.
genetic pool gets mixed up, and then data code DNA comes out, and boom, aggressive one, boom, more chill passive one,
Yeah,
super drive, crazy ball drive. Yeah, it happens.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Like we talked about before too, I think it's really good to educate people how to pick out among those, personalities, even among the same breed. That's going to be something to help people have success in their homes with their dogs.
Yeah, let's shift gears and looking back on your journey, right, over the last 20 years, or maybe just the 5 years, is there any particular lessons or principles that you wish you had known earlier? And what advice would you give to your younger self, younger Eric? So that's a 3-part question. Looking back on your journey, is there any particular lesson or principle you wish you had known? And then what advice would you give your younger self? 2-part.
So one thing I'm thinking of in particular with the dog training industry to begin with is kind of deciding or first understanding different methodologies. I could have fast tracked myself so much if I knew that, because I spent time learning a lot of overly complicated means to do things that should be relatively simple.
Right.
And there was frankly a lot of wasted time. So earlier on I mentioned there's a number of dog trainers on YouTube and other places that you can follow, and you need to learn how to sift through who's being sincere, who's telling you what actually works, because you could get distracted in a lot of fruitless directions starting off learning this business.
And that's difficult. So like if you try to be self-taught and you're just watching YouTube videos, how do you know you're not following? Because like let's say you start, you're ignorant, you don't know what's wrong and what's right. But this guy portrays his methods so confidently, so assertively, and you think, but let's say it's just horrible. So people, it's just, there's a balance. I mean, there's a confusion. So how would you advise a new person find the right mentors?
So I got a couple things on that. First of all, what direction do you want to take your dog training? Do you want it to be for the pet dog, or do you want it to be for sport? So you can cut out a lot just right there. So if you want your dog to be involved in a sport, that's great, go for those kind of trainers. But if you're looking to just help people out with their pet dogs, most people aren't looking to do the sport type activities with their dog.
Okay.
So pick an avenue to concentrate on.
Yeah.
Another thing too is, does it make sense? I really want to go back to common sense. Does what they're telling you resonate with you as being logical or emotion based? I think that's huge.
There it is, brother.
Yeah.
That's huge. I mean, I'm bipartisan in these interviews, but are you thinking with your emotions, or is it logic, science, and provable methodologies, right?
Yeah. And if somebody is teaching dog training that includes guilt and shame, I think that's not the way to go. You can see through certain limiting beliefs and agendas that way.
That's beautiful,
If somebody's willing to tell you something that doesn't sound like it would resonate with a lot of people or be necessarily politically correct, that person might be a little more sincere in what they're talking about.
I think there is also disconnect though with the public being emotional based. So the vast majority of the people think with their emotion brain versus intellectual knowledge, science, or even common sense. They want the population is wanting the emotional based training. So I think all we do is we educate, man. We educate, we talk about our methods, we show provable transformation one after another. And the light will shine on what works better.
And
we don't want to argue either way, because we just do our jobs, build our companies, and focus on our grass and our clients, right?
that's it. And not everybody's your client. You
Yes,
you gotta accept that.
Yes, sir. So you spoke a little bit about some things that you have in your mind on the works of it, but just I mean, you've been in the game for a long time. Back in the day, everything was heavy-handed, compulsion based. It wasn't balanced. It's not using all 4 quadrants of classical conditioning. It was, I mean, at least from the background of the education of like what the military was doing back then, is entirely different than now. So you've seen how the industry has changed over 20 years ago to now. So your future outlook, like what are your future aspirations and goals? And then how do you envision the industry and landscape evolving? Like, what do you think is the future for this dog training industry?
Well, I think, methodologies were on a pendulum, one way, one side of that pendulum back when you're talking about swinging to another extreme that doesn't work. The balance is necessary. It really is. It's just you want to find somewhere that's a good middle. And really, what is the dog responding to? That's really the basis of it. Not every dog is the same, but there's so many similarities.
What do you think the future for the industry holds, though? Because we have this pendulum that's swinging amongst education, trainers, styles. We have bans, we have pushes in certain states to ban e-collars, to ban equipment. That's going to have an impact on the industry, don't you think? And our abilities to save dogs.
Those bands, they may come, there seems to be so much energy and money behind the groups that push that kind of thing. I have seen people more
Lobbying, right? Is that what you're saying? There's money.
lobbying. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
When we're dealing with politicians, it's,
Not fun
it's not
stuff.
always going to be the best.
It's not fun to have
Yeah. So we really need to take control of the industry to a certain degree. Uh, a lot of times when I do, my social media videos, I don't shy away from the fact I use e-collars, prong collars, slip leads, things like that. Um, and I want people to understand when you're in business and want to produce a good product, like any tradesman of any kind, you are looking for tools to do the job better. And, so when you look at somebody using the tools, well, don't think that they're just trying to do worse. That doesn't make any sense at all. They think, oh, that's going to ruin your relationship. Well, how long would I be in business if I was just ruining people's relationships with their dogs? I see.
Some people would believe that you can exist that way, but you're not.
Right. Well,
Your business
yeah,
would be shut down.
people believe all sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
As far as the industry goes, we need to have more awareness of the benefits of the way, some balanced training, the benefits of the tools involved, because it gives the dog owners and dogs so much benefit. I've been training dogs a long time, and I've trained many dogs without the use of tools, but I train most of them with the tools now. The e-collar, prong collar, slip lead, some tools involved. And the reason why is because it produces better results. It gives a lot more reliability. It communicates to the dog better, and it's also transferable to the owner so that they can start, communicating to the dog.
Yeah.
One thing I can't do is transfer my relationship to the dog owner. They have to have their own relationship, but I can train or transfer strategies and methods of communication.
Have you ever heard that other trainers say that tools are a crutch for uneducated trainers?
Yeah, I think that's really an ignorant statement.
Yeah.
Like if you see anybody working skillfully with a tool in any other trade, they've spent time.
Hammers are
Yeah,
a crutch for crappy carpenters.
yeah. I mean, you
You're not
see
going to say
somebody
that.
with a chainsaw producing a sculpture out of a tree stump. You think, oh, that guy's lazy. Why isn't he using a chisel?
Why, yeah, why isn't he doing it by hand?
Right.
Never said. No one's ever said that.
No, but there's just a lot of ignorance and in this industry about what the methods are and why they work. And
what are you doing to stay ahead of the curve? So the industry is evolving,
so
and if we don't,
I am open about using the tools. I put them on social media. I don't try to hide the fact I use them in public, and when people see well-behaved dogs, that's the testament.
You don't use hide prongs, you use a Herm Springer that's visible.
Absolutely. I kind of want people to see a well-behaved dog and understand, that tool is playing a part.
Yeah, and then you're an ambassador of
That's it.
an ambassador and an application of the use of it too. So
Right.
when someone sees an a-hole using a prong wrong, or hurting a dog with a prong, that's the a-hole hurting the dog with the prong and not the proper application. And they'll be educated and know. I saw a trainer with a prong, and he didn't do that to the dog with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I will say, the general public has access to these tools without training, and that can be an issue, just like we talked about power tools for a carpenter or something like that. I I have people calling me up and say, "Oh, I bought an e-collar already." I'm like, "Don't use it yet. Stop. You don't know what you're doing." I said, "You can give me a circular saw. Doesn't mean you want me to build your house, right?"
yeah, yeah,
You got to learn how to use the tool. You have to understand training first and utilize the tools to, enhance the training.
yeah. We need to make it more readily available, accessible, with a whole host of trainers across the United States that are giving out the information, so
Yes,
that the public can just find it easily. But when it's a paid for you service or paid with you service, then they need to pay for quality training from
right.
quality trainers, right?
Yeah, you got it.
And you got anything else to add on anything we covered today?
Um, that was a really good conversation. Enjoyed it, Shane.
Yeah,
You
it was
know
a
that.
pleasure having you, picking your brain. So it was a
Yeah,
pleasure having you, picking your brain, learning about you and your company. Go ahead and tell the world again where you're located, the name of your company, and what you can do for the public before we head out.
terrific. Thank you. So Premier Pack Dog Training, Premier Dog Training MI for Michigan.com is the website. You can find me on social media under Premier Pack Dog Training. We're located in Southeast Michigan, so Canton specifically right now, between Ann Arbor and Detroit, but anywhere in Southeast Michigan, even Northern Ohio is good. Board and train is a specialty. Virtual consultations and in-home consultations are also a big part of it. But we transform dogs, the goal being a well-behaved family companion, one that you can include in more of your life, have some pride over. Too many people are ashamed of their dogs, and it's a real shame. So we want you to be proud of your well-behaved dog, and we can help you get there.
Awesome, man. It was so awesome having you. I can't wait for the world to know about you, your company. And I hope it brings you tons of more business. You get to save way more dogs. You get to build amazing dogs as you continually are. And thank you again for joining the Seven Figure Dog Trainer podcast with me.
Terrific, Shane. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.